right, welcome everyone. Today I have a really special guest with me. Her name is Jeannie. She's been a client inside the Claim program, and I am so happy that she accepted my invitation to come to the podcast and share her story with you. Welcome, Jeannie. Please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and why are you here?
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Jeannie. I have been in the program for, I guess, 2.5 years now. I have had a really amazing experience with the program, a lot of transformation over the last 2.5 years. Really, the first year of the program, I wasn't even dating. I was just doing a lot of inner work to be ready to date again because I had just divorced. In fact, when I joined the program, I was not divorced yet. I was trying to save my relationship. And the very week that I joined the program, we did decide that we were going to divorce. And so I was like, I just joined this program trying to save my relationship. But then I realized that the program was about so much more than that. And staying in it was a really wonderful choice. And continuing to do the work helped me so much in my dating journey, which was quite a dating journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually, in preparation for this interview, I actually looked at some posts that you did, and I went and I read your introductory post, and there was a picture of you in the park, and I think you mentioned something like, "Hey, I just joined," and I think you even had your discovery call in the park.
I did.
And then said,
I
right
did.
after I joined, and you said, I wanted to see if this relationship can work. And then as soon as you got home after the call, after you joined, your partner at the time, I guess shared with you the news that this is not going to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow. And just a
Yeah.
disclaimer for everyone, Jeannie, you joined such a long time ago when we
Yeah.
were actually offering the program for like a lifetime access,
Oh,
which
right.
I've done in the beginning, and now we've reduced it to actually you get 6 months access to the program, and if you to do that, in a work bulk and obviously start dating,
Yeah.
and then you can continue your membership if you choose to. But just a disclaimer for everyone listening. Okay, so let's begin with actually you sharing how did you find out about Claimed? How did you stumble upon my work, and why did you decide to sign up for a discovery call?
Yeah, I think I found you because I was very interested in David Data and John Wineland's work. And I think somehow I found you through that world. So I was like, I read one of David Data's books and I started to follow John Wineland on Instagram. And somehow I was led to you through that. It wasn't an ad. I know that. It was more like, I think maybe it was an article or something that I happened upon. And and then I just started to read more of your stuff. I think I listened to the podcast. Yeah, and then I booked a call.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me more about like what wasn't working? What were you really trying to figure out, and how did you feel? I know it was a long time ago, and it probably sounds like a totally different life.
It feels
You
like
know?
it. Yeah.
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 I wonder if you can remember, how did you feel, and what was the biggest struggle and the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge in the relationship, I think, was probably a lack of polarity. I think in a lot of ways I had chosen somebody unintentionally, subconsciously, who would let me have my way all the time. And then over the years, I found that very unattractive with time. I ended up, starting a business 9 years ago. And so, before that, I felt like it was kind of workable. But then when I started being in charge of, all the decisions in the business and all the decisions, it felt like at home, even though I had a partner who really did contribute in terms of like helping with the house and like helping with cooking and childcare and things like that, I still felt like I was the one in charge in a lot of ways, like in charge of organizing it all. And I think I didn't even have language to express to him accurately how I was feeling. I just knew something was so off, like the attraction had gone, I think for both of us. And I felt depleted. I felt sort of depleted and tired. And I just felt like I really don't want to do this anymore, but I don't know what to do. And then I think that's when I sort of happened upon the polarity stuff. And as I was reading more and more, I thought, oh, this is definitely at least a part of the puzzle, a piece of what's going on that maybe we could fix. But I think at the end of the day, I had a partner who wasn't interested in fixing that. And as I started to present some of these ideas to him, there was just a real lack of interest in change. I feel like it has been the best choice for us, and we're still very friendly, and I love him dearly, and we're very good co-parents. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, so there's this whole, what you're sharing, I think so many women listening resonate, right? Like, I was in charge in my work and career and my business, but I also was in charge at home, and it's like freaking exhausting to be making decisions all the time. And like, what do I do? And obviously, like, attraction goes. And so, what do we do with that? And so, I'm curious, Jeannie, in terms of joining a program like that, because obviously you could have done many other different things. You could have just not done anything. You could have, they're like, there's so, like, I think about the woman who is struggling with the same thing that you have been struggling with. She's not only presented, but also bombarded with a lot of choices out there, especially today on social media and stuff like that. And, there's ways, like, obviously there's therapy, there are like dating programs or whatever, right? So I'm curious, what really resonated with you in terms of the CLAIM program, and why did you think that this was the right choice for you moving forward?
Yeah, it was more just a feeling. Like, I remember feeling when I was reading your stuff, like, oh, like it almost felt like an exhale. Like, that's how I want my life to be. Like, I want to be more relaxed in my relationship. I want to be more like on the receiving end. I want to be the one who is feeling taken care of. And I want to take care of my partner in these very specific ways that are really very sort of like traditionally feminine ways that really spoke to me. And I remember it just sounded so good, and so I was just like, sign me up. Like, this is what I've lost, this is what I've lost. That I know this is like my true essence. And somehow over the years of like, working in jobs and like becoming a mother and now owning a business. And, this is the side of me that I've just lost. I felt very like hardened in a lot of ways. I felt very like disconnected from my feelings. I felt disconnected from my body. And I just knew I wanted that back, and that it would feel so good and so natural to come back to that. So it was like I could see the light at the end of the tunnel when I read and even did the discovery call. I knew for a lot of years in my marriage, I was like, this is not the partnership that I've dreamed of. And of course, like, marriage is not a fantasy, and anybody who has been married knows that. But I also knew it could be so much more satisfying than what I had, and that was, I think, because of the polarity.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. So here you are, it sounds so good. This is what you've lost.
Yeah.
You're signing up. And so as you mentioned in the beginning, your first year was really about doing that inner work before you even go dating. By the way, we've shortened the length of the program because we also noticed that a lot of women who were just joining on lifetime access just felt like they had all the time in the world, and then I don't know if like anything would be different for you, but if the time was shorter, but that's what I noticed, that, I'm here to like help women get results. And so I just noticed that when they sign up for something that's lifetime access, they just sit there and I'm not saying that you did that, but I'm just saying, like, a lot of women can just really take their time and really sit in that fear of dating and whatever that story is, especially post-marriage stuff like that. So let's talk a little bit about what were your like 2 to 3 biggest aha moments as you went through the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the first big aha moment was that being able to feel how I actually feel in the moment really relies on me being connected to my body. Like I really I never saw that connection before. I thought of like the feelings and like the physical bodies are like very different. And like I started to see how intertwined they were, like how good I would feel after I did a flow, or like if I would do a flow right before a date, like how the man would react so differently to me was mind blowing. If I would just like do a nice long flow, like, and I would literally just be still flowing sometimes when the doorbell rang, for a date or something. And I would go to the door and like there would just be this energy that I felt like he was in awe of me. Like I felt like a goddess, you know what I
Like,
mean? Like,
hello.
yes, like
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
felt so relaxed. And so like that was a huge aha for me and still continues to be. Um,
Can you explain that a little bit more? Sorry to interrupt
mhm,
you because I think it's an important. I think, all the women listening who are in their head now, dealing with
mhm,
all these issues. Why is
mhm,
he not calling? Like being in that
mhm.
kind of control masculine mode.
Yeah.
Tell me about the practice. Like, how would you explain to other women the practice, and how would you explain? Because as you're talking about this, like magic or whatever, like how would you explain what actually happens, and like how do you show up, and how does it work? How would you explain it to other women?
Yeah, I think it's like what I notice when I do a flow and like breathe and get into my body, I can, when I'm with a man, be much more focused on myself and how I feel with him rather than my mind racing, trying to impress him, which I used to do a lot with guys. I would just try to impress them with like my achievements and how smart I was. And like, oh, they'll see like how incredibly capable and smart I am, you know. And then like I learned like in the program, and it's so true, like they really don't care that much. Like they want their time with you to be fun and delightful. And like they want to feel that fun, flirty energy from you. And like whenever I could get into that state, things just went so much better for everybody, for me too. Like I don't like feeling like I'm in my head and overthinking and like, second guessing everything I say. And, I just became so much calmer as I started to do the flows. And especially as I started to do the flows, like before, that became my big thing was like always do a flow. Like even if it's a 5 minute, even if I only have time for like a 5 minute flow, like before a date, but always do a flow before a date. But yeah, just being present with myself and being more in the choosing energy rather than like the I want him to choose me energy was a real game changer. But you can't be in the chooser energy if you're not feeling like, okay, how is he making me feel right now? Like how am I feeling about this conversation or this date or like where he's taking me or like what we're doing? Yeah, that was very big.
Yeah, I look at the whole journey as what you just, and there's this mantra that I always say, choose someone who chooses you. Such a huge shift for women when they get it, when they do the work, and when they emerge on the other side. This is what I call, dating from a place of power. And what happens for a lot of women in the program, well, for most women who do the work, is they go from this place of powerlessness,
Yeah.
essentially, of what
Yeah.
you just said, trying to impress him all the time and wanting him to choose me. And,
Yeah.
like this whole kind of frantic, very powerless energy, and going to the place where, like, I am a woman and I am the prize, and any man is lucky to be in my field, in my energy, and I am worthy of amazing, great men to be around me and to claim me. It's just polar opposite energy. And a lot, if not most women that I meet, and there's a whole other conversation about why that happens, but there's not a lot of women who date from a place of power, who know
Yeah.
how to embody their boundaries, how to communicate them, how to be in that feminine energy that's really that's soft and strong at the same time, where it's like,
Yes.
yeah, like you've done your flow, and then you open the door, and you are in that calm, soft, present state. But at the same time, you're not this doormat. You're
Yes.
not someone who can be manipulated with easily. Like, you can
Yes.
set your boundaries and you can be strong. That, to me, that's healthy feminine energy. And I would say, most women have not just they've just seen that at all while growing up. In the meet, like today, especially, I'm actually looking at you, Jeannie. I know you're on a pretty big business,
Yeah.
and I can't tell.
People are always surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
normally women, I'm actually quite, because normally when I speak to women, I'm a businesswoman myself,
Yeah.
when we run these big businesses, like, it requires a lot of that masculine energy, like being that boss babe or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I talk to you, and you're just like
Yeah.
so soft. You're in the present moment. You're such a good student of the client program. I probably should learn a little bit from you as well, because it's tough, for women today. And that's the big challenge for women today. When they have these big careers, when they have to run businesses, we're constantly in our head making decisions. You're on a big team. And so just that shift is, when you're on a day, just to let go of that control and be in your body and be fun and fluid, because that's all they want. They don't care about your success. I mean, they want to be with an equal partner, obviously, that, is intelligent and smart and everything. But, like, they really don't care about how much money you're making or whatever. And so, yeah, it's very powerful. Thanks for sharing that. Do you want to
Yeah.
move forward and share other aha moments, or actually, if you want to
Yeah.
comment on that, you're welcome to.
Well, it's kind of both. It's a comment on that because I loved what you said about being soft and strong, and that was like one of the big things that I came to in time in the program, and I feel like it was the thing that served me best. Like, I got to a point in the program, and it took a while. I mean, I was healing for a long time from my divorce and the trauma of that. And then I was dating, and I was still, I think, coming from not a powerful place when I was dating for a while, but I felt like I was sort of practicing some of the things. This is how, in my mind, this is how it works. It takes some practice. It takes new awarenesses. It takes realizing your limiting beliefs and kind of creating new ones. And all of that does take some time. And the place that I came to, though, I mean, it's so worth the time, because the place that I came to finally felt so good. That felt so good was that I was willing to walk from anyone who didn't treat me really, really well. And like, there were two guys actually at the end, right before I was claimed by like this man who I'm madly in love with right now. But like right before it, there were two guys who were both like gorgeous, successful, masculine. And like one of them, I went on multiple dates with. Things were going really well. I was feeling really good about that connection, but I kept dating other people. That was key. Another aha, right? It's like, keep dating other people. Don't get hooked on one guy. But anyway, I had been on multiple dates with this one guy, and one day he like drops a bomb that he's like, I really want to have kids of my own. That's a big priority for me. And I have 2 kids, and I'm 47. I am not having any more kids. Like, so I was like, okay, well then I'm not available for that, like, in so many ways. And he kept trying to, I just said like, thank you. Like, you're awesome. I really enjoyed getting to know you. And like, luckily I had other guys I was dating. So I wasn't like, I was very interested in him, but I wasn't like set on him. And I was like, okay, well, that's not going to work, And he kept trying to come back. He's like, we have such great chemistry, though. We had only kissed. We hadn't like slept together or anything. He's like, we have such great chemistry. I kept coming back, trying to like, basically have like a hookup relationship, like a friends with benefits sort of thing. And I was just like, no. And like the old me, I think I would have done it if he were like hot enough. You know what I mean? Which this guy was, like, so attractive, like dream guy sort of like looks in my book. I was like, but like, I was just like, oh no, like, I don't need that in my life. And that felt so good. And that just sort of propelled my confidence. There was a next guy who I dated who I really liked a lot too. But he just wasn't giving me what I needed. Like, he gave me a lot of communication, but like, he wasn't like that great about planning dates. It would always be kind of last minute. And like, it just felt like not quite it just wasn't really what I wanted, even though there were qualities about him. I found him very attractive and stuff. And I just walked. I was like, you know what, I did say, like, this isn't really what I'm looking for. And here's what I'm looking for. Are you able to kind of do that? And he's like, oh yeah, but then he didn't really. So I just like walked and it felt so good. And then the other example, which I think is my favorite, is when I met the guy who claimed me. The first night we met at a dance event. I'm very into Latin dancing. And we met there and he came over and chatted with me. And I was like attracted to him immediately. He asked me if he could take me out the following week. I said yes. He asked for my number. I gave him my number. And then later that night, he ended up walking me to my car. And at my car, he said, can I come home with you? And I said, no. And he said, but I really like you. I want to keep talking. Like, we don't have to do anything, but like, can I come home with you? And I said, no. And he said, but like, we're having such a great time. Like, do you want to go out for a drink or something? I was like, it's really late. And if you don't stop pushing, I'm not even going to want to go on the date with you. And I just said, like, I was like, done. I was like, stop pushing. And which is kind of interesting because I was kind of turned on by the fact that he was pushing so hard for what he wanted. But at the same time, then he like texted me the next day, apologized, and he brings it up all the time. He's like, you better stop pushing, and he loves it. Like, he loves that I also was strong when I needed to be. And he's like, now I know that like not just any guy can get anything from you, you know? Because he's like, because you put me in my place. And so it like created this incredible attraction between us. You know, that moment of me just being like, no, this is my boundary. And if you want to see me again, you need to stop now because I've already said no 3 times, you know?
Yeah.
And ever since, like, perfect gentleman. Like, this man treats me like a queen. And it's like, you have to actually act like one to get that treatment. You have to mean it. That's another aha, right? You can't just fake it. Like, for a while I was faking it, but I didn't really believe it, or I wouldn't really walk away, you know? But I was trying to like act like I felt that way about myself, but it wasn't to the point where I really actually did that things started to shift, and the type of men who showed up started to really shift in a big way.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I think that everyone who's listening, watching are like, this is amazing. So I have so many questions, Jeannie, and the way, I mean, I love those stories. And so I guess my first question is, and I think that everyone is like, how? Like, how?
I know.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So if you could describe the process, and obviously like the claim program and the process is designed to get you to that place of exactly what you're talking about, right? It's all about embodied boundaries.
Yeah.
It's all about getting to that place where it's like, no, you know, and what I love about what you said is, and I think this is very crucial for women to, I guess, have awareness about it and understand that true masculine men, which are, by the way, most men, they will push, and it's attractive.
It is.
When a man goes for what he wants. Like, you don't want to be with a man where you're like, no, can't go home. Okay, sure, I'll see you tomorrow.
100%.
You know, I mean, yeah, and everyone is
100%.
different, right? I don't want to say that in that particular situation, one man could have been like, okay, no problem, see you tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
So every situation is different. But what I'm saying is, what does it mean to pursue a woman? It means like when she says no for the first time, you actually continue to pursue, because I think that most men know that sometimes a woman is saying no, it's like, no, but actually yes, depending on how, you know what I mean? So that's attractive. But then it's up to you how you handle that and how you continue to say no and hold that boundary. So tell us about the how. Like, how did you get to the point where, you know, you kept saying no and you came to that place of power, as you said, you know, if you want a man to treat you like a queen and respect your boundaries and, you know, have polarity with you and show up for you in a big way, you got to act like it first. And that's, I think, in the claim program, that's kind of the philosophy that I hold, that, you know, if you want a man to make you feel a certain way, you got to feel that in your body first.
Absolutely.
You got to come to the point where you feel the way you want to feel without a man. You have a life that you want to have without a man, where you're not you were not waiting for anyone to save you. You're not waiting for him to come in and like make your life amazing or make you feel safe
Yeah.
or whatever. So how did that process look like for you? Like, how did you come to this place of amazingness and being a queen and attracting a man who treats you like that?
Yeah. So I think that for the longest time, I was just pushing away my feelings of how bad it felt when a man didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated and when I let him do that. Right. So, like, I've been in situationships, like most of us. Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
been in that situation where I am like more into him than he is into me and hoping that one of these days he will randomly choose me. And during the program, I feel like what happened was like during the flows really like cracked me open in a lot of ways. And I let myself feel like the intense pain that comes with giving someone something they don't deserve and like having it take away like a lot of your self-confidence in the process. And it is our responsibility. It's not our fault. I hear a lot of women like blaming men for situationships. And I'm like, you're in it though. You're choosing to be in it. You have to choose to be. And, he's such a jerk and like he doesn't want to be with me. I'm like, then why do I want to be with him? Like, but I've been there. And I think it came to the point where like I just let myself feel like the depth of emotion. And it was like on my sunroom floor, letting myself like cry and wail. And like sometimes that sounded like a wild animal, like letting those things come out of me. Like truly, I remember at some points feeling like an animal releasing this trauma like through my voice and through my body. And I think I just had to let myself go there and actually feel it. I feel like for the longest time, I was just pushing away all those feelings, like resisting all those bad feelings. I'm fine, everything's fine. Like that situation, okay, it didn't turn out the way I wanted to, but it's fine. Like, I didn't actually let myself go there. And once I sort of went there, I was like, oh, why would I want to feel like this again? Why would I choose somebody who would make me feel like this when this isn't at all how I want to feel in a relationship, you know? And I think that's what did it for me, was just like going there emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like doing the
Yeah.
work, like doing the real hard work of like feeling my feelings.
Yeah. It sounds so simple. Like it's deceivingly simple, when you
Yeah,
tell a woman like just fucking feel what you're feeling. But then
yeah,
oh my God, there's so many layers to it of
so
why
many
we can't
layers.
do it, why we
Yeah.
don't do it, why we put a facade
Yep.
like we have done since we were little girls
Yep.
when our parents just freaking, like, I'm a parent, you're a parent.
Mhm.
I'm in these situations myself. Like sometimes my daughter screams her lungs out or tells me she hates me
Mhm.
or like she's not going to eat her dinner. And I'm
Mhm.
just sitting there being
Yes.
like, what? Like, and it's parenthood is just so hard. And so, but
Yeah.
we've been conditioned since little girls to like feeling is not okay, especially girls, right? Like
Oh yeah.
I talked
Oh
to so
yeah.
many parents. I don't know. Do you have boys or
I have
girls?
two
I think you've got
girls.
both.
Two
Two girls.
girls.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
I hear
Yeah.
from parents a lot, like when they have, I think that actually, I don't know your experience, Jeannie, but when I talk to parents, like moms and dads, everybody's kind of being okay with having boys, but like girls, oh my, you got to get into the whole emotional thing, right? Like, so there's a lot of emotions. And so when we
Yeah.
have girls and we are girls and it's like I remember growing up and I'm sure maybe you do. And I think every woman relates to that when it's like, oh shit, I always felt like it's too much because no one could actually just hold all of this thing that's
Yes.
happening right now. They didn't know how, And
Yeah.
so there's obviously all these layers of beliefs and the fact that we didn't see women actually, expressing safely. Like this feminine flow tool, what it does, I mean, what it did for me when I started to do this work, and then later on I was coaching and teaching women how to do it, is exactly what you say. It's a tool that helps you every single day, just freaking process
Yes.
everything that's
That's right.
happening for you, whether it's dating or not dating. But, when you start the Clean program, obviously there's that module 2 that really gives you the tools to freaking feel everything that happens, that's happening now, felt in the past, like everything. And it's such it's hard work,
It's
you
hard
know,
work.
people
It
say.
is hard work.
I signed up for a dating program and I'm crying every day, you know, but it's
Yeah.
that release that needs to happen so that, like, you know, when we think about how do you show up on a date without an agenda? How do you
Yeah,
date
man.
without guilt? How do you show up like a queen? Well, it's because you don't hold all the frozen tension. You know what you want.
Yeah.
You've released it. You also embodied that energy that you want to hold. And then, yeah, I agree with you. Once you've felt all that shit in your body and you've released it, you're like, it's almost like a cleansing,
Yes.
right? And then
Yes.
when it happens again, you're like, thank you, but no, I'm done with
100%.
that.
Yes, 100%. You're so
Yeah.
done. And you can see it coming. Like, I didn't used to be able to see it coming, but now when I was dating, I could see it coming. I was like, oh, this guy, he wants to sleep with me. That's it. Like, I can tell. It becomes very easy to tell. And then you're like, if you're looking for that, great. If you're not looking for that, which I wasn't, I was like, I feel like for me, that became very unattractive because I was like, I feel like that's not special at all. I could walk into a bar any night of the week and get any guy to sleep with me. Like, unless he's like married and like super committed to his wife, like if there's single guys in there, and I would be like, hey, do you want to have sex with me? Like no strings attached. Almost all of them would say yes. Like, this
Did
is
you
not a
always
good
think that,
offer.
Jeannie?
No, I didn't
Did
always
you?
think that. No, I
Yeah.
didn't always think that. But all of a sudden I realized, I was like, this is not a good offer. Like, I'm a businesswoman. This is a shit offer. You know what I mean? This is a terrible offer. And I'm like, if that's all you're bringing to the table, I'm so not interested.
What you're saying is something that, you know, I hold as a belief system. I know this. And like the whole world today, you know, especially with this post-feminism, like it's all fucked up. It's all reversed. I'm like, everything that women are talking about is how we're freaking powerless and patriarchy and all of that stuff. And obviously some of it is true, but I'm like sitting there and think that's why I do this. I'm like, women, hello, wake the fuck up. Do you realize how much power you have? Just like what you said, you walk into a bar, obviously you have to have a certain belief system and a body set, mindset and a body set. You walk into a bar and all of the single guys are pretty much yours if you have the right attitude, the right mind. Because I mean, yours in the sense of whether the relationship type material, we don't know, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
they're gonna sleep with you. Like they're gonna go, like, you know, and it's not a good offer. Well, for some women it is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being a woman, you're already attractive. You have so much power, quote unquote, over men. And in relationship, you know, women are so much more powerful in terms of like a man can't win with you a battle in terms of when it comes to feelings and emotions and everything. So understanding that power, like when that happened for me, it was also such a huge aha moment. I just knew, you know, and obviously you have to treat that carefully because then you could also go into the unhealthy feminine where you can abuse it and overuse it and so on and so forth. So, okay, Jeannie, I have two questions for you that are a little bit more practical before we finish, which I think a lot of women are like, because like looking at you, Jeannie, you've been posting these stories about this. So you're meeting these amazing men who are also really hot.
Yeah.
Like you've struck gold. I don't know what you're doing, but like we want to know what you're doing. So my two questions is the first one, because so your aha moments were three, you mentioned. Number one is being able to feel how you want to feel and connect to your body, and obviously all of that release and then embodying what you want. Number two is keep dating other people, this idea of funneling and dating other people. And number three is, you know, act like a queen and mean it so that you attract the right men into your life who can treat you the way you treat yourself, essentially. So my question is about your aha moment number two. What about the guilt? So let's talk about the guilt of dating other people. So did you feel guilty? And if you did, how did you overcome it? And then the second question, which is so practical. I don't like to talk about this, but I know that the women really need to understand it, is like, where do you meet these men? Right? Like women ask me, and this relates to the other thing. For me, I don't talk about this because you're fucking meeting them everywhere. They're like half of the population. Like seriously, you walk around, there's men around. So like you meet them everywhere. But I guess some women need a little bit more of a direction. Like a woman who's listening to this, who's in that story of, you know, there's no good men. I'm not attracting the right guys. She's simply with her mindset. She's not focusing on what she actually needs to focus on. She's not putting herself out there, and therefore she's not attracting the right guys. So of course, for her, she doesn't know where to meet these guys because everywhere she goes, she just sees assholes who want to sleep with her, and it's just a whole different life. So what about the
Yeah.
guilt? And then where do you meet these amazing men who are also hot and successful and everything?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I've seen a lot of posts about the guilt. I really didn't have the guilt. Like, I really didn't have the guilt of dating multiple men. I was just like, if you're not saying we're in a relationship, we're not in a relationship. We're just dating. And I never really had like an issue with that. If I got kind of far along with a guy, but he hadn't brought up exclusivity, sometimes like I would say, if we were on, let's say like maybe a seventh or an eighth date or something like that, I would casually work into the conversation like, oh, well, I'm sure you're dating other people, and, and I'm open to that too. And just kind of see how he would react to that. Like, see if he was assuming we were exclusive, even though we hadn't had that conversation. But as far as I was concerned, if the conversation didn't happen, we're both open. We're still open. And so that always led to some interesting conversations. And actually, not a single one of them said, oh, I thought we were exclusive. Not one, And so I think for me, like, it was safety to always assume they were dating other women, and always for me to be actively dating other men. The most dangerous thing for me, and I think probably a lot of women, is like getting focused on one guy. And it is hard because there is usually a top guy in your funnel where you're like, ooh, I hope it works out with him,
So
And there just is, right? We can't just treat them all like completely equally. But so important to have like other people taking you out and not like pin all your hopes on him, because you just don't know. Like, this guy was going great with, and all of a sudden he's like, I really want to have my own kids. And I'm like, that's just a deal breaker for you and for me. Like, why are we even continuing to see each other? But I didn't have a problem with the guilt at all. And then what was the second question? Oh, where am I meeting
where do you
them?
meet these guys? I know
Okay.
you are into salsa, and bachata and Latin American dance is a great place to meet men.
That
right?
is the best place to meet men. And in fact, the guy that I am with now, my boyfriend, I met there. I met at one of the dance
What do you
sites.
think about? Sorry to interrupt. So, by the way, for all women, I think women just. So, first of all, Latin American dance is an amazing opportunity to practice polarity. I remember when I was doing salsa classes, it's like, and proper classes, like, women, if you want to experience polarity and be led and just feel how it feels to be led by men and not to control everything, go to like sign up for proper salsa classes or bachata classes. Because I remember when I did these exercises, you literally have to close your eyes and let the man lead. Like, that's how you learn. You close your eyes and you feel, because he leads you with his hands. And it's like amazing. But then another thing, every single area has these social nights, right? Like Latin American dance. Just go. Even if I feel like most women can like figure out the basic salsa step.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fucking rocket science.
Nope.
Just go. Go by yourself. Go with girlfriends. Doesn't matter. And start to dance. My question to you, Jeannie, is, so in my experience of salsa dancing and Latin American dance, so there's different types of men. I think I would categorize them, and I'm curious to hear what you say. And by the way, men, like, I talked to String about this. String is a terrible dancer, but he went to salsa to basically pick up girls or to meet women.
Oh, yeah.
Men go to these places like just to meet women, unless they're really into salsa, which I wanted to ask you about, and we don't have a lot of time, so I want to make it quick. When my experience in Latin American dance, there's kind of like three types of men. There's the guy who's just learning how to dance, and he's probably there to meet women, but maybe wants to learn. And he's like this super awkward guy that you don't want to dance with. You don't want him to invite you. And by the way, even on the dance floor, in terms of polarity, you got to wait until a man invites you most of the time, which is still a polarity dance, right? And then there's guys who are like good, and you dance with them. And then there's the third type of a guy who's like a freaking rock star that everyone wants to dance with. And so in my experience, I think, well, I don't want to give this a recommendation, but in my experience, I would stay away from the really good guys who dance. Obviously, there are exceptions, but I feel like these men are so, what's the word I'm using? So used to all of the female attention, and there's so much competition for that guy. And there's something about the really, really good salsa dancer that's a bit like, I don't know. So I feel like that middle segment, I'm not sure who your boyfriend, where did he fall into that
Yeah.
middle segment? That's like, he's good.
Yeah.
He's not like
Yeah.
incredible, but he's good. You dance with him, and, he's not that super salsa guy. Women are all,
Yeah.
lining up for him to invite, and he's not like the really awkward guy.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that and experience?
I feel like the majority of the guys fall into that middle section where they genuinely enjoy
Okay, yeah.
dancing. They're at least where I live. I'm in Philadelphia, and I could dance like every night except for Monday night. I could go salsa dancing if I wanted to. There's somewhere where it's happening. But I feel like most guys fit into that middle section of like they're good salsa dancers, so they feel good to dance with. And they're also likely, there to not just to meet women. They like the dancing, but they also are open to meeting somebody. And as you get to be a better and better dancer, it's really fun because like I went salsa dancing a couple weeks ago and I barely left the floor. Like as I was leaving the floor, another man would ask me to dance. And it is such a nice just ego boost. Like once you get to be a decent dancer, to have guys just asking you all night. You might dance with like 20 guys in a night and they all have different energies and you can feel and some people it's like, oh my gosh, like I look at you and I'm not actually that attracted to you, but when I dance with you, I just like feel it, And so there are all these surprises that come with it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Last year I went to it's happening next week as well. It's the Latin Fiesta. It's like a 4-day festival, biggest Latin festival in Australia. Last year I went to just one night and, I danced with different guys, but then there was this 6-year-old man. He was an Italian man with like, like a jacket and a suit, and he smelled nice. He was an old guy, and holy shit, the way he like spun me around, don't tell this to strength, but like, when you get into those, like when you have a really good connect, and he was like spinning me and spinning me. And at some point I was on his knee, like literally, like, how do you call that? My pubic bone was on his knee when we were doing the bachata thing. And I was like, holy shit, what's happening right now? So when you look at this man, like I would never even say yes or whatever, but I said yes. And I was just thinking there and being like, if I was single, would I go on a date with this? So there's this whole thing that happens on the down. Like, he's like 65.
I know.
But
it's an energy.
It was amazing. Yeah, it is in the energy. It's not in the looks. And I mean, hands off salsa and Latin American dance where you meet men. Where else, Jeannie? Did you meet all of your men there, or you met them in other places too?
No, I was definitely online for a while. I was Hinge. I had the best luck on Hinge of all the apps because I tried Hinge and I tried Tinder very briefly, and then I was on Bumble also very briefly, but Hinge was the one that I did get a lot of dates from. But the best place was definitely salsa. I also just, did things I was interested in. And like I own a business and I was in a business accelerator. And one of the guys from that I ended up dating for a while. So yeah, a variety of places. But I think salsa is absolutely the best. Like pretty much when I was single, every time I went dating, I got asked for my number almost every time, I would say at least once. Like it was just the easiest place to meet guys. And then you get a vibe about it. You feel what the other person is like.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I could talk to you forever. There's so many other things that, I'm curious about, but unfortunately we don't have the time. And I think you've shared so much already, Jeannie. Thank you. And for all the women listening, I guess, what would you recommend, think about you when you were in that state, before you joined the program, jumped on a discovery call. Think about all the women listening and watching right now who are really in that uncomfortable place, where they also feel they might be feeling exhausted and tired and they don't know what's the missing piece and what's not working. Like, all these guys, like it's not where all the good men. Why would you recommend, jumping on a discovery call to see if claimed is for them and then ultimately perhaps even joining the program?
Yeah, I would say just referring back to what I said before about like I could sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel, like that's what I want. I know that that's how I want to feel in a relationship, is like really taken care of. I want to be with a man who feels really powerful to me, and I want to feel really powerful too in a very feminine way. Like I want to have better boundaries, and and I will say like when I imagined it would feel so good, and now that I'm kind of, not that there's any like ending, right? It's like ongoing work, but I'm definitely so much further along than I was, that like it feels like as good or better than you think it's going to feel. Like I just feel so happy right now. I'm incredibly in love. And, I'm also in a place where I'm like, okay, but if this doesn't work out, I know I'll be fine. Like, that I'll meet somebody else and I'll be happy when I'm, on my own. And so I've just come to a really full place of feeling very deeply satisfied, I would say, and definitely attracting a different type of guy. I mean, I never would have attracted the guy I'm with 2 years ago. He wouldn't have even been in my realm of possibility. He would not have, I'm sure that my energy would not have attracted him in, and you're absolutely right. Like when a guy pushes, like one of the things I learned about him that first night is I was like, oh, this is definitely a guy who goes for what he wants. And then as I started dating him and learned more about him, I'm like, he owns a company. He's an investor in a bakery. He's got a plan for his life and like where he's going, and I want to be with him. You know what I mean? Like it's clear as can be. This is like a powerful man, and it's so sexy, and it's so worth it because nothing feels like that. Like nothing else feels like being with a really incredibly powerful man and him treating you like a beautiful, woman. So yeah.
So good, Jeannie. Last question. I got to let you go, but I'm curious, how did the conversation happen? Because that's what I teach in the program also. And I love that you said the safety is where you assume that you're single until the conversation happens.
Yes.
So when did it happen? How did it happen for you and your current boyfriend?
Yeah. So it happened after about a month and a half. And he sat me down. I mean, he sat me down like very intentionally.
He sat me down.
He sat me down.
I love that.
And was like, I thought he might be breaking up with me at first. But like he sat me down and he was like, I really was not looking to get into a relationship. Like I was not looking for a relationship. I was not looking for anything serious. He's like, but I don't know. He's like, with you, it is just so fun and easy. And I love being around you. And like, I feel so happy when I come to your house, and like your house is so like, it's such a relaxing place for me. And like, he just went on and on about how much he enjoys just my presence, and what I bring to the relationship, which is like fun and laughter and like relaxation. And he was just like, I want to make sure you're not seeing anyone else, because I don't want to see anyone else, and I don't really want you to either. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. Okay then. That sounds like a great plan that you've made for us. I love that plan.
Oh my God, I love this so much.
I know.
Oh, all right, Jeannie. Thank you. This was such an awesome conversation. I can't wait to release it. Thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll speak again.
Sounds good. All right. Bye, Anna.